Demos are great. Unfortunately, schedules didn't align for me to share my thoughts on Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, but giving players an early taste of a new game is always a good thing. So imagine my excitement this week to see Megapixel Studio and Forever Entertainment release a demo of the recently revealed The House of the Dead 2 remake. We love the Dreamcast original here at the Sega Guys, and we gave it 4 stars in our review back in 2023, having both first played this game on the Dreamcast all the way back in 1999. So this is Dan the Mega Driver here of the Sega Guys, and join me as I take a look at the demo of this highly anticipated remake. The big question was whether Megapixel Studios had learned the lessons from their first 2 remakes. Panzer Dragoon was a bit of a mixed bag when it hit. Well, that's being slightly generous. It had issues with controls, gameplay and visuals, and it didn't actually become a viable version of Sega's classic rail shooter until months and numerous updates later. Even then, Sega and Panzer fans are pretty much united in the view that the remake slightly misses the point of the original game's art style. The original House of the Dead remake fared a little bit better, mainly because a great version of the original House of the Dead never actually came home, and this, by default, became the best way to play a retail version at 60 frames per second, at least without light guns. Still, it had issues with art style and gameplay, and it never felt quite right. So, taking everything they learned from the first 2 legendary Sega rail shooters that they had remade, do we see vast improvements in the House of the Dead 2 remake? I booted this up on Steam, and on first impressions, sure, from the intro it looks solid. Despite the attempt at some sort of grindhouse filter on the arcade track mode, the visuals look pretty good until you see the character models and they look a bit strange. Anyway, my first issue with this is that I couldn't start the game. Turns out I needed to press escape rather than space, enter, left click, any of the usual keys or buttons. It would have been nice for the intro to say press escape, you know, like the arcade game says press start, instead of saying press any button.
So that was a fucking lie.
Anyway, I get to the menu and the pain continues. Switching between modes and options is painful. The designers couldn't seem to agree on whether you could use a mouse in isolation or just make you use random key binding so you get a mixture of both. So I end up starting original mode, and selecting my starting bonuses is just as unintuitive. Maybe it's just me, but I found this entire UI design to be absolutely shocking. Anyway, we're finally in the game, and as I said, it looks nice. At first. The challenge here is it isn't remaking a Sega Saturn or Model 2 game. This is a Dreamcast title that still held up some years later on the original Xbox, and even later than that on the Nintendo Wii. So this isn't turning a blocky mid-90s game into a modern title, it's turning a more visually complex game into a modern title, and as a result, while visual complexity is improved, the biggest differences will come down to art style. The first thing that struck me though is the dialogue. The original game is ridiculed for its voice acting, but it's almost a case of it's so bad it's actually quite good. The remake keeps the original scripts and obviously completely redubs it. The acting is objectively better, but the delivery, while much improved, just makes things worse in my opinion. It's the script. The script was a product of its time, and simply re-delivering the janky old lines isn't enough. A bit of effort in rewriting the script entirely would have really gone a long way in this remake. As a result, the dialogue still comes off as complete nonsense, but it's delivered with po-faced delivery. As a result, it's awful. And the fact that it comes from wooden-faced mannequins exacerbates the issue. The character models are all rather strange looking. The Dreamcast game didn't have the most complex character models, but they did have a degree of personality. G's injury, for example, comes off so much worse in the remake than it does in the original as a result. In terms of overall visuals, it's kind of a mixed bag. In some instances, they look good. In others, they are severely under par. Putting it side by side with the Sega Dreamcast original, some elements look downgraded. The Dreamcast game, despite the horror theme, has some brilliant use of colour. It absolutely pops with that vibrant Sega look. The remake, with what I can only describe as its own updated piss filter, looks so bland in comparison. Enemies like zombies and frogs just lack the personality of the Dreamcast game. It's not terrible per se, just unimpressive and uninspiring. Even the boss at the end manages to look both better and worse at the same time. Okay, so sound and visuals aren't great. The whole reason for a remake then is somewhat lost. But surely, the game plays okay, right? I mean, it's a rail shooter. What could go wrong? Oh boy, are we in for a surprise? Right out of the gate, you can tell that the enemy behaviours are all completely wrong. Zombies shuffle and move in patterns that differ greatly from the original game. This isn't so much of an issue, however the limb dismemberment is. In the Dreamcast game, you see arms and heads flying everywhere when you shoot zombies. Here, not so much. And this isn't just a visual issue, it impacts gameplay directly. The ability to shoot off the arm of an attacker is greatly diminished, and it changes how the game plays for the worse. The boss is not exempt from this. When you shoot the little flying demon when battling Judgment, the huge suit of armour is meant to take a step backwards, just like in the arcade and Dreamcast game. Here, however, it either stands still or just keeps coming forward. Furthermore, I'm not exaggerating when I say that hitting enemies in this game makes me wince. Not from the gore, you understand, but from the utterly abysmal response you get from the game when you shoot things. You see two things happen. First of all, you get this really annoying sound effect when your score tots up. It really grates on me. Secondly, enemies turn into weightless ragdolls when they die, like they've just been shot on the moon. The original game sees these blighters stagger and fall in heaps of flesh. Not here though. The monsters, just now capable of absorbing multiple bullets, are cast into the air like shopping bags. It feels like all collision and physics behaviours are off. For example, G hands you this floating book, then rescued civilians somehow levitate boxes of health packs towards you.
What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that?
Unlike the original, where they actually carry the health pack to pass to you. This is a 25-year-old game doing things better than the remake. Oh dear. Everything about this experience is a disappointment. That Forever Entertainment thought that they could put this demo out to garner a positive reception is simply astounding. Did they even play it? Did anyone involved with this mess even play the original? Here at the Sega Guys, we make it our mission to champion Sega's history, to share our memories of our favourite games company and bring people new and old back to their classic catalogue of games. This House of the Dead 2 remake is a stain on that. It feels like an attack on the original game. It is both an insult and a disgrace to the original work of AM1. This is where I tell you that we will not be buying the full game. Anyone watching this video should stay away from this travesty. Go and play the Dreamcast version, or the Wii game, or even the bonus Xbox version. Emulate it if you need to. At least then you can use a modern light gun like Sinden on the PC. Yes, you can't even use a modern light gun on this game. And that's why I'm going further than that. Megapixel and Forever have had 3 strikes now. We've had the disappointment of Panzer Dragoon, the mixed bag that was the original House of the Dead remake, and now we have this travesty. And they want to remake Panzer Dragoon's Vi? No. Stay away. Stay well away. These guys do not understand these games. They don't understand how they work, they don't understand the art style or their history. They are basically raiding Sega's crypts to make a quick buck, resurrecting these shambling corpses and making a mockery of the original works. They are doing tremendous harm to Sega and these IPs. I'd go as far to say that this is the worst update to a Sega IP since Sonic the Hedgehog 06. Sega have moved on in the modern day. They are flying high right now. They do not need 2-bit, low-effort titles like this tarnishing their IPs. So, stay away from the House of the Dead 2 remake and hopefully Forever Entertainment can get the hint and stay away from Sega's IPs in the future. This has been Dan the Mega Driver of the Sega Guys, and I will see you on the Sega side.